some audio devices are immediately desirable because of their design. Some of those devices fall short when you listen to them, and some of them don't. Meet the FiiO KA15, possibly the most likeable portable audio device you will ever come across. That's a big claim, I know, but I reckon the KA15 has the chops to back it up. Now, before anybody gets too excited in the comment section down below, let me make clear what I'm saying here. What I am saying is that I absolutely love and recommend the KA15. What I am not saying is that it's the perfect portable audio device for everybody. I'm also not saying that it's better than more expensive portable dongles. Let's deconstruct my love for the KA15 a little bit better. The KA15 is a super compact dongle DAC for your smartphone, your computer, that's similar in size to something like a HiDis XO or an IEMS Sparrow, to name just a couple of examples. In other words, it's about the size of a chubby USB thumb drive. In this tiny little package though, there's not just a pair of CS43198 DAC chips though, and an output stage capable of up to 560 milliwatts of output, that's into 32 ohms. There's also a fully featured full colour display that makes the KA15 look like a teeny tiny cassette player. On top of that, there's a coaxial output that can take the signal from your phone via USB-C and then send it out via coaxial to a different DAC if you want to do that. And in addition to that, FiiO claim that the KA15 has an intelligent power management system that's going to better expand the life of your battery when you plug it into your smartphone or your laptop. It'll also support IEMS that have a microphone within the cable, like an inline microphone, but that will depend a little bit on the device you're plugging the KA15 into. On top of that, as if that wasn't already enough, it's fully Apple compatible, so it's going to work with your various Lightning devices from Apple. Oh, and it's also UAC 1 compatible, which means it'll work with your gaming consoles too. If you're wondering how much you'd be paying for all this, the list price is $110 for the KA15, but when I was writing up my review, Amazon had it for $90. That's about the same price as the aforementioned HiDis XO, which can do approximately none of what the KA15 can do, other than taking an audio signal and spitting it out to your headphones. And so we're off to a flying start with the KA15, but let's talk about what's not so good with it. For some reason, no matter which setup you choose, because there's two different ways you can set up the buttons to work on the KA15, no matter which way you choose, the button that skips backwards through your tracks is the button that takes the volume upwards. And then vice versa, the button that skips forward through tracks takes the volume down. That seems counterintuitive to me. I'm guessing you'd get used to it, but I don't understand it. But that's also it. That's the only problem I have with the KA15. I have no other issues with it, just an abundance of love for this wonderful little nugget. As we move to the sound quality of the KA15, you get a range of different filters that you can choose from, including a non-oversampling mode, and they all have a subtle but noticeable impact on the sound. Another thing that influences the sound is you can run the KA15 in Class H or Class AB mode. As I understand it, both modes operate somewhat similarly, but the Class H mode is intended to reduce the maximum voltage swing of the amplifier when it's not needed, and that's done to make the device more efficient and save power. Theoretically, in Class H mode, when you need the extra voltage swing, the amplifier is going to ramp it back up again, and so it shouldn't make an audible difference to the quality of the sound, in theory. In reality though, I did feel like Class AB had a different sound to Class H. Tonally, they're both exactly the same, but in Class AB mode, the KA15 just sounded more at ease. Like it was handling everything easier, it was giving more sense of an open, dynamic and resolving sound because the amplifier was just purring. It is a subtle shift, and I didn't bother taking the time to see how much difference Class H and Class AB made to power consumption. That's something you can do if you get the KA15, but I would just always run it in Class AB mode. The good news though is that if you choose to run it in Class H mode, it still sounds excellent. It just sounds a little bit more excellent, and only a little bit, in Class AB. And what that excellence sounds like to me is that the KA15 delivers a very natural tonality through any IEMS or headphones I tried it with. There's also a sense of detail and articulation from the KA15 that I would consider to be strong for its price. It delivers a nice, wide soundstage with good separation, and there's even a bit of depth and layering in the sound that I would consider to be better than I'd expect for a dongle at this price. Of course, it's not about to compete with a much more expensive dongle like a Questyle M15 for instance, but you could buy 3 of these for the cost of the M15, so I wouldn't expect it to. Quickly comparing the 4.4mm output and the 3.5mm output from the KA15 did show some differences there too, and maybe I should have listed this as one of the drawbacks. The 3.5mm output from the KA15 sounds noticeably thicker, slower, even a touch boomier I'd say, compared to the 4.4mm output. It almost makes the KA15 sound like it's a cassette player. It's not a terrible output, but I don't know that I'd want to listen to this from the 3.5mm, and so I definitely recommend you prioritize the 4.4mm output. Now, something I haven't really mentioned yet is that on the display of the KA15, it's got current and voltage readouts. While I was testing the KA15, I paid attention to those to see just how much power each of the different earphones or headphones that I was using were drawing from the device. But that's not what it shows you. It seems that those numbers are about the amount of power that the KA15 is drawing in from the smartphone, the laptop, whatever you're plugging it into. And so it's not quite as much fun to watch those numbers because they don't respond as rapidly. If you turn up the volume or down the volume, they're not going to react as they're trying to drive the headphones or earphones more, because it's also taking into account how the DAC chip and the amplification circuit is all drawing power from the smartphone or the laptop. In other words, the specific impact of your earphones or headphones and the volume level is kind of hidden within those numbers a bit more. It's still fun and curious to look at, but not quite as insightful as I'd hoped. Now, while we've returned back to talking about that interface for a moment, it's also important to note that the KA15's visual display allows you to have both balance control and an onboard equalizer. And so you can access and control the EQ and the balance of the KA15 with just the KA15. No external devices if you don't want to. You can use FiiO's app when this is connected to your smartphone to control the presets of the EQ and of course to control things like the balance, the EQ settings, the filters, all that. But the fact that you've got a $110 dongle at its full list price, giving you EQ and balance all controlled through a device of this size is just remarkable. And so based on just the features and the sound quality of the KA15 on its own, I could stop the review right here and declare this the very best dongle for around about $100. But I won't. And that's because I wanted to know if it's also the very best sounding dongle for around about that price. Because maybe you don't care about those features, maybe you just care about sound quality. Now, I can't guarantee that I know exactly what the very best sounding dongle is at this price, but another dongle that I love and regularly recommend at around about this price is the Simgot DEW4X. It's very compact, more than the KA15, and it sounds fantastic. Like the KA15, it also uses a pair of Cirrus Logic DAC chips. Unlike the KA15, the DEW4X uses the 43131 DAC chips from Cirrus Logic. Connecting both dongles one at a time to my smartphone revealed two similar but different sounding dongles. The DEW4X presented a greater sense of space on first listen, but it also came along with a bit less sense of refinement. The treble from the DEW4X is a little bit crisper, but also a little bit less controlled. I did like the slightly more spacious sound that the Simgot dongle was delivering, but I kept wanting to come back and spend more time with the KA15, talking only about its sound quality, because it was the easier and more enjoyable overall listen. And as I did listen more and more to both of these, it was the KA15 proving to be the more capable dongle. Despite having a tiny bit less overall space in the soundstage, I felt like the KA15 was delivering a more accurate sense of each individual instrument in space, where it is, the size and the shape of the instrument. And so putting all that together gave me a more accurate sense of the overall soundstage size and shape. Even if the overall size was a tiny bit smaller, it was clearer to me. In other words, with the KA15, I had a better sense of where the boundaries of the soundstage were, where the sounds started and stopped. And on top of that, I could more clearly place each instrument within that space. Add to that the more refined sound that makes the KA15 more enjoyable across any track, any genre, and the KA15 is just a winner on all fronts. Now, of course, if that sounds good to you, and why wouldn't it, I've got links in the description down below where you can go and pick one of these up for yourself. Maybe pick one up for a friend as well. It's good and it's cheap. But if that's got you itching for something even better, Then, not that long ago, I reviewed the Questyle M18i, which is an outstanding wired dongle that also gives you Bluetooth capabilities as well. That one's reviewed up here. It's absolutely brilliant. Check that one out if you want to go even better than the K15. For now though, a huge thanks to YouTube channel members, thank you to channel Patreon members, and thank you to those of you who leave super thanks on videos like this one. And until next time, happy listening, be kind to each other, and I'll see you here again soon on Passion for Sound.